The great crystal halls of Zephyria Prime had seen many species come and go. Today they would witness another. The Galactic Hegemony Council sat in their ancient positions, 12 races that controlled the known galaxy. Each member represented millions of worlds and trillions of beings. Admiral Crix Thanor of the Veltar Empire stood 9 feet tall. His forearms moved with practiced grace as he reviewed the datapad. His insect-like head turned toward the other council members. "Another primitive species has achieved faster than light travel," he announced. His voice carried the tone of someone discussing a minor pest problem. The Zephani representative, a being made of living crystal, hummed softly. "What do we know about them?" "They call themselves humans," Crix Thanor replied. "They come from a small blue planet in the outer rim. Third planet from a yellow star. Nothing special about their system. No rare minerals. No strategic value." A floating orb of pure energy drifted closer to the center of the chamber. This was the Luminar delegate. When it spoke, the voice came from everywhere at once. "What are their capabilities?" Crix Thanor's mandibles clicked in what passed for laughter among his kind. "Primitive. They still use chemical rockets for most of their space travel. Their fastest ships barely reach 1/10 light speed. They have no energy shields. Their weapons are crude projectiles and simple energy beams." "How many worlds do they control?" asked the Corvani representative, a massive creature covered in thick gray skin. "One," Crix Thanor said. "Just their homeworld. They have small colonies on a few nearby planets, but nothing worth mentioning. Their total population is less than 20 billion. The council chamber filled with sounds that might have been laughter if humans could understand them. To these ancient races, 20 billion was a small city. The Veltar Empire alone controlled over 10,000 worlds. "What do they want?" the Zephani asked. "The usual," Crix Thanor said. "They want to join our galactic community. They want trade agreements. They want protection. They want to be treated as equals." The last word dripped with disgust. The Luminar orb pulsed brighter. "Equals? Do they understand what they are asking?" "Apparently not," Crix Thanor replied. "Their representative should arrive within the hour. We can explain their options to them directly." The massive doors to the council chamber opened with a deep grinding sound. A small figure walked into the vast space. Captain Elena Vasquez looked tiny compared to the alien beings around her. She wore a simple blue uniform with small metal pins on her chest. Her brown hair was pulled back in a neat style. Her dark eyes showed no fear as she looked up at the towering aliens. She stopped in the center of the chamber and stood straight. "Honorable members of the Galactic Hegemony Council," she began. "I am Captain Elena Vasquez of the United Earthship Defiance. I bring greetings from the people of Earth and all human colonies." Crix Thanor leaned forward. "Human, you may speak. Tell us what your species wants." Elena reached into her jacket and pulled out a small device. "I carry with me the signed petition of all Earth governments. We request membership in the galactic community. We offer our friendship, our knowledge, and our cooperation in building a better future for all species." The chamber fell silent for a moment. Then the sounds of alien laughter filled the air again. "Friendship?" the Corvani delegate rumbled. "What could your species possibly offer us?" Elena stood her ground. "We offer our perspective, our creativity, our determination. We believe that different species working together can achieve great things." "Your determination?" Crix Thanor's voice carried amusement. "What has your species determined to do with your single world and primitive technology?" "We have survived," Elena said simply. "We have grown. We have learned to work together despite our differences. We have reached for the stars." The Luminar orb dimmed slightly. "Many species reach for the stars. Few survive to tell about it." "That is why we seek membership in your council," Elena replied. "We want to learn from your wisdom. We want to contribute to the peace and prosperity of the galaxy." Crix Thanor exchanged looks with the other council members. Quick communication passed between them in frequencies humans could not hear. "We have discussed your request," Crix Thanor announced. "The council is prepared to offer your species protection and guidance." Elena's face brightened slightly. "That is wonderful news. What are the terms?" "Simple terms," the Veltar admiral said. "Your species will accept protectorate status under the hegemony. You will surrender all military vessels to our forces. You will accept hegemony governors on all your worlds. You will provide workers and resources as needed for galactic projects. In return, we will protect you from hostile forces and guide your development." The smile faded from Elena's face. You are asking us to surrender our independence. We are offering you survival, Crixthanor corrected. This is how the galaxy works, human. Strong species guide weak ones. The alternative is extinction. Elena was quiet for a long moment. And if we refuse? The chamber grew cold. The crystal walls of the Zephani representative began to glow with an angry red light. No species has ever refused, the Luminar said. It would be unwise. Elena straightened her shoulders. I need to return to Earth to discuss this with my government. Of course, Crixthanor said. You have one standard galactic month to decide. After that, we will assume you have chosen the alternative to our generous offer. Elena nodded once. I understand. She turned and walked toward the exit. Human, Crixthanor called after her. Do not mistake our offer for weakness. We have guided many species into prosperity. Those who refused our guidance are no longer with us. Elena stopped at the doorway. She looked back at the assembled aliens. Admiral, my species has a saying. Give me liberty or give me death. We will consider your offer carefully. The doors closed behind her with a final grinding sound. Crixthanor turned to the other council members. Another primitive species that thinks it can negotiate with its betters. They all learn eventually. What if they choose death? The Zephani asked. Then they choose death, Crixthanor replied. The galaxy has room for those who understand their place. It has no room for those who do not. The Luminar orb pulsed thoughtfully. Their representative showed no fear. Fear comes later, Crixthanor said. When they see our fleets above their world, when they understand what defiance costs, they will beg to accept our protection. And if they do not, the Corvani delegate asked. Crixthanor's mandibles spread in what his species used for a smile. Then they will join the other extinct species that thought they could stand against the hegemony. The galaxy remembers only those who accept their proper place. The council members began to disperse. To them, this was another routine matter. Another primitive species that would soon learn the natural order of the galaxy. Some learned quickly. Others learned slowly. A few never learned at all. None of them suspected that they had just met a species that might teach them something new. Something about the price of freedom. Something about the cost of forcing others to kneel. In the depths of space, Elena's ship turned toward home. She carried with her an offer that was not really an offer, a choice that was not really a choice. But she also carried something else. The determination of a species that had never learned to surrender. That had never learned that some fights cannot be won. The hegemony would soon discover what happened when an unstoppable force met an immovable object. They would learn what humans meant when they said liberty or death. They would learn that some species would rather burn the galaxy than live on their knees. 3 months had passed since Elena's return to Earth. The blue planet that humans called home now lived under the shadow of alien warships. Massive Veltar vessels hung in space like dark metal mountains. Their hulls reflected no light. Their weapons could turn continents to glass. Admiral Crixthanor stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominator. Through the wide viewing ports, he could see the small blue world below. So tiny, so helpless, like all the others. Status report, he commanded. His second-in-command, Commander Vexlar, checked his instruments. 47 battlecruisers in position around the planet. 12 more squadrons patrol the outer system. All human military vessels have been tracked and targeted. Their response to our ultimatum? The human governments are divided, Vexlar reported. Some wish to accept our protection. Others speak of resistance. Their military leaders meet in constant session. Crixthanor's mandibles clicked with satisfaction. Fear spreads among them. Good. Have they seen our demonstration? Yes, Admiral. The destruction of their outer moon base was observed by their entire planet. The melting of their asteroid mining stations was recorded and broadcast. They understand our power. The demonstration had been perfect. Crixthanor had chosen targets with no living beings aboard. Automated facilities. Empty structures. But the message was clear. This is what happens to those who defy the hegemony. Any military response from them? Their ships maintain defensive positions around the planet. No aggressive moves. Their weapons are powered down to minimum levels. As expected, Crixthanor said, no species has ever fired the first shot against a hegemony fleet. They know better. On Earth's surface, Admiral Elena Vasquez sat in the emergency session of the Global Defense Council. The converted war room deep beneath Geneva buzzed with activity. Screens showed the positions of alien ships. Communication channels carried reports from around the world. The Chinese delegation is ready to surrender, reported General Chen from Beijing. They say fighting is hopeless. The European Union is split, added Director Schmidt. Half want to negotiate, half want to fight. Elena looked at the tactical display showing the enemy fleet. Each red dot represented enough firepower to destroy a city. There were 67 red dots surrounding Earth. What about the Americans? She asked. General Martinez spoke from Washington. The president says we fight. Congress is behind him, but they want to know if we have any chance at all. Elena stood and walked to the large screen showing Earth from space, the beautiful blue marble that had given birth to humanity, the world where every human who had ever lived had been born. Now it was trapped. What do our scientists say about their technology? She asked. Dr. Sarah Kim stepped forward. Their ships are incredible. Energy shields that can stop nuclear weapons. Weapons that can boil oceans. Faster than light engines that make our best ships look like toys. But, Helena sensed there was more. But they fight like they've never met real resistance, Dr. Kim continued. Their tactics are about intimidation and overwhelming force. They position their ships to look impressive. They make demonstrations to create fear. They're used to enemies who surrender quickly. What does that mean for us? Dr. Kim hesitated. It means they might not be ready for an enemy that fights back with everything it has. Elena turned back to the council. I've been studying their history. Every species they've conquered either surrendered immediately or was destroyed in a few quick battles. They've never fought a war of attrition. They've never faced an enemy willing to die rather than submit. Are we willing to die? General Martinez asked quietly. The room fell silent. Elena looked around at the faces of Earth's military leaders. Men and women from every nation, every culture, every background, united now by a common threat. I've been thinking about something, Elena said. In all their communications, they talk about guidance and protection. They see themselves as the natural rulers of the galaxy. They've never encountered a species that disagreed with that idea. So? General Chen asked. So they've never had to face the consequences of their actions, Elena replied. They've never met a species crazy enough to make them pay a real price for conquest. A communication alert chimed. The main screen switched to show Admiral Krixthaner's insect-like face. People of Earth. His translated voice filled the room. Your time limit expires in 24 hours. The Galactic Hegemony Council has shown great patience with your primitive stubbornness. Accept our protection now, or face the consequences of your foolish pride. Elena stepped forward to the communication panel. Around the world, billions of humans watched their screens. Admiral Krixthaner, she said, I am Admiral Elena Vasquez speaking for the people of Earth. We have considered your offer carefully. And? Krixthanor's voice carried the tone of someone already knowing the answer. Elena took a deep breath. We reject your offer. We reject your protection. We reject your rule. Earth will remain free. The alien admiral's mandibles spread in what might have been surprise. You choose extinction over guidance? We choose freedom over slavery, Elena replied. Admiral, I want you to understand something. You think you know how this ends. You think we'll beg for mercy when your ships start firing. You think we'll surrender when we see our cities burning. Will you not? Krixthanor asked. Elena's voice grew cold. You want war? Then face obliteration. The transmission cut to static. In the war room, the Defense Council stared at their screens. Around the world, humans watched their leaders choose death over submission. General Martinez broke the silence. Did we just declare war on the entire galaxy? No, Elena said quietly. We just declared that some things are worth dying for. Now they'll learn what that means. On the Dominator, Krixthanor stared at the blank communication screen. In his thousands of years of conquest, no species had ever spoken to him like that. No primitive race had ever threatened him. Admiral? Commander Vexler asked. Your orders. Krixthanor was quiet for a long moment. Something about the human female's words troubled him. Not the threat itself. Primitive species always made empty threats. But the way she said it, the certainty in her voice, as if she truly believed her words. Begin bombardment of their military installations, he finally ordered. Show them the price of defiance. Yes, Admiral. Target selection? Their space defense platforms first. Then their naval bases. Make it slow. Let them watch each target burn. Let them understand what resistance costs. The Veltar fleet began to move into attack positions. Massive ships turned their weapons toward the blue planet below. Energy began building in weapons that could crack moons. But something strange was happening on Earth. Instead of panic, there was grim determination. Instead of surrender, there was preparation. Military bases activated their defenses. Civilian populations moved to shelters. And in hidden locations around the planet, humans prepared surprises that the galaxy had never seen before. They prepared to show the hegemony what happened when someone pushed humanity too far. They prepared to demonstrate that some species would rather pull down the heavens than live on their knees. The war for Earth was about to begin. But it would not be the war that Admiral Crixthanor expected. It would be something new in galactic history, something that would change the balance of power forever. It would be the war that taught the galaxy to fear the word human. The first Veltar energy beam struck Luna Defense Station 12 at exactly 800 Greenwich Mean Time. The massive orbital platform built to protect Earth's moon simply vanished. One moment it was there, bristling with weapons and shields. The next moment there was only expanding gas and metal fragments. Admiral Crixthanor watched the destruction with satisfaction. Perfect accuracy, he noted. Continue bombardment. Target the remaining defensive platforms. But something was wrong. The humans were not behaving as expected. Instead of trying to flee or desperately calling for surrender, the crew of Luna Defense Station 15 did something unprecedented. They aimed their station at the nearest Veltar cruiser and fired their engines at full power. Admiral, Commander Vexler's voice carried alarm. "The humans are ramming us!" Crixthanor watched in shock as the space station, its hull glowing red from engine heat, smashed into the Veltar cruiser, Subjugator. Both vessels exploded in a brilliant flash that could be seen from Earth's surface. "Impossible," Crixthanor whispered. "They destroyed their own station to damage one of our ships." More alarms sounded across the bridge. "Admiral, multiple human vessels are breaking formation. They're heading directly for our fleet." On the tactical display, Crixthanor could see dozens of small human ships racing toward his massive battle fleet. Their engines were pushed beyond safe limits. Their hulls glowed from the heat, and every single one was on a collision course. The UES Defiance, Elena's old command, led the charge. Captain Rodriguez had volunteered for the mission. His voice came across all frequencies as his ship accelerated toward the enemy. "For Earth," he shouted. "For freedom!" The Defiance struck the Veltar destroyer Iron Fist at nearly 1/10 the speed of light. The explosion could be seen throughout the solar system. More human ships followed. Cargo vessels, mining ships, even civilian transports. All of them had been loaded with explosives. All of them were piloted by volunteers who sang as they died. "This is the UES Constitution," Captain Williams broadcast. "Tell my family I died free." "UES Liberty on final approach," reported Captain O'Brien. "See you all in Valhalla." One by one, the human ships smashed into alien vessels. Each impact destroyed both ships. But the humans seemed to consider this a fair trade. Crixthanor had never seen anything like it. "Why are they doing this? They cannot win through suicide attacks." Commander Vexlar consulted his instruments. "Admiral, we've lost 6 ships to these insane tactics. The humans have lost 37 vessels. Then they are weakening themselves faster than us," Crixthanor said. "Continue bombardment," but the attacks continued. And something else was happening. The human ships that weren't making suicide runs were behaving strangely. They weren't trying to fight the Veltar fleet. Instead, they were launching small objects into deep space. "What are those projectiles?" Crixthanor demanded. "Unknown, Admiral. They appear to be small unmanned spacecraft. They're accelerating out of the system at maximum speed. Pursuit? They're too small and fast to catch easily. And they're heading in different directions. Some toward Veltar space, some toward other hegemony worlds." Crixthanor felt a chill run through his exoskeleton. "Communications intercept. What are the humans transmitting?" The bridge communications officer worked frantically at his station. "Admiral, we're detecting broad-spectrum transmissions from Earth. They're broadcasting on all galactic frequencies." "Content?" "It appears to be a message to the entire galaxy." On Earth, Admiral Elena Vasquez stood before the cameras in the Global Defense Command Center. Around the world, humans watched her image. But more importantly, hidden transmitters were broadcasting her words across the galaxy. "People of the galaxy," she began, "I am Admiral Elena Vasquez of Earth. Today, the Veltar Empire has attacked our world. They demand our surrender. They want us to accept slavery in exchange for survival. She paused, looking directly into the camera. We refuse. The image switched to show the space battle raging around Earth. Alien ships firing on human defenses. Human ships ramming alien vessels in desperate suicide attacks. The galactic hegemony believes that all species must kneel or die. Elena continued. They believe that their power gives them the right to rule over others. Today, humanity shows them the price of that belief. The broadcast switched to show something that made Crixthanor's blood run cold. Hidden bases on Earth opening to reveal massive missile silos. But these weren't ordinary missiles. We call it the Samson Protocol. Elena's voice continued. If Earth falls, if our people are enslaved or destroyed, then the galaxy will burn with us. The missiles launching from Earth were different from anything the galaxy had ever seen. They were small, fast, and equipped with experimental human technology. Each one carried a single devastating payload toward a different hegemony world. Every major hegemony world now has one of our gifts heading toward it, Elena announced. Each missile carries enough antimatter to crack a planet's crust. If Earth dies, every member world of the hegemony dies with us. Crixthanor stared at the tactical display in horror. How many missiles? Preliminary count shows 43 projectiles, Admiral. All heading toward different hegemony core worlds. Time to intercept. The missiles are using some kind of experimental drive system. They'll reach their targets in 37 days. Too fast for our ships to catch them all. Elena's broadcast continued. Members of the galactic hegemony, you have a choice. Order your fleets to withdraw from human space or watch your worlds burn. We are not bluffing. We are not negotiating. If we cannot live free, then none of you will live at all. The transmission ended, leaving the galaxy in stunned silence. Commander Vexillar turned to his admiral. Sir, we're receiving priority communications from Hegemony Command, also from the Zephani homeworld, and the Luminar core systems. They're all demanding immediate status reports. Crixthanor didn't answer. He was staring at the tactical display, trying to understand what had just happened. No species in galactic history had ever threatened mutual destruction. The concept was insane, illogical, impossible. But the humans had just done exactly that. Admiral, Vexlar pressed, the Hegemony Council is demanding answers. They want to know if the human threats are real. Crixthanor watched another human ship ram one of his destroyers. The pilot was singing some primitive human war song as his vessel exploded. They're real, he said quietly. These humans are completely insane. They would rather destroy the galaxy than accept our rule. What are your orders, Admiral? For the first time in his long military career, Admiral Crixthanor didn't know what to do. His fleet could destroy Earth, but doing so would trigger the human doomsday weapons. 43 hegemony worlds would die. And something told him that the humans weren't bluffing. Maintain position, he ordered. Continue bombardment of military targets only. No strikes on population centers, sir. Our orders were to force complete surrender. Our orders, Crixthanor said slowly, did not account for a species willing to commit galactic suicide rather than kneel. Across the galaxy, hegemony leaders were receiving the same terrifying message. For the first time in their history, they faced an enemy that couldn't be reasoned with, bribed, or intimidated. They faced an enemy that would rather die than submit. And for the first time in galactic history, the hegemony felt something they had never experienced before. Fear. The emergency session of the Galactic Hegemony Council convened just 18 hours after the human broadcast. For the first time in recorded history, every member species attended in person rather than sending representatives. The crystal halls of Zephyria Prime had never seen such panic. Admiral Crixthanor stood before the council via holographic projection from his flagship. His usually confident demeanor had cracked. Honorable council members, he began, the situation around Earth has become complicated. Complicated? The Zephani representative's crystal form blazed with angry red light. You said this would be a routine subjugation. Now we have 43 doomsday weapons heading toward our core worlds. The Luminar delegate pulsed with rapid, anxious light patterns. Our analysis confirms the human threat is real. Each missile carries enough antimatter to kill billions. Our homeworld is directly targeted. How is this possible? Demanded the Corvani representative. Your intelligence report said they were primitive. Crixthanor's mandibles clicked nervously. They are primitive. Their technology is thousands of years behind ours, but they have weaponized something we never considered. Which is? Madness, Crixthanor replied. Complete suicidal madness. They would rather destroy the galaxy than accept our guidance. The council erupted in chaos. 12 different languages filled the air as representatives shouted at each other and at Crixthanor. Finally, the eldest member, an ancient Veltar called Patriarch Mordan, called for order. Explain these tactics, Mordan commanded. How does a primitive species threaten the entire hegemony? Crixthanor activated a holographic display showing the battle around Earth. They ram our ships with their own vessels. They turn space stations into weapons. They sacrifice themselves without hesitation. And now they threaten to destroy our worlds if we destroy theirs. Impossible, said the Corvani. No rational species commits suicide to inflict damage. That's exactly my point, Crixthanor replied. They are not rational. They operate by principles we don't understand. They speak of concepts like freedom or death and live free or die. These are not logical positions. The Luminar delegate dimmed to a worried yellow. Our xenopsychology experts have analyzed human behavior patterns. Their conclusion is disturbing. Explain, Patriarch Mordan ordered. Humans have a unique psychology. They form emotional attachments to abstract concepts like independence and self-determination. When these concepts are threatened, they become capable of extreme actions. How extreme? Their own history shows multiple examples of mutually assured destruction. They built weapons capable of destroying their own planet and pointed them at each other for decades. They called it nuclear deterrence. The council fell silent. The concept was so alien to their thinking that it took time to process. You're saying, the Zephani representative said slowly, that they have done this before? To themselves? Multiple times throughout their history, the Luminar confirmed. They have a saying, better to die on your feet than live on your knees. To them, this is a logical position. Patriarch Mordan studied the data carefully. What do our military strategists recommend? Complete destruction of Earth before the missiles reach their targets, reported the Veltar military advisor. We can crack their planet in 6 hours. The missile guidance systems will fail without their home base. Will they? The Luminar asked. Our intelligence suggests these missiles are autonomous. They don't need Earth to function. Crixthanor confirmed this with obvious reluctance. The missiles appear to be completely self-guided. Destroying Earth will not stop them. Then we shoot down the missiles, the Corvani suggested. 43 missiles heading toward 43 different star systems. Crixthanor replied. Using some kind of experimental drive we don't fully understand. Our fleets cannot intercept them all. The Zephani representative's crystal form turned a deep purple with worry. What about negotiation? All species can be reasoned with. We tried, Crixthanor said. Their response was to threaten galactic annihilation. On the main display, a new communication was incoming from Earth. Admiral Elena Vasquez appeared before the council. Members of the Galactic Hegemony, she said without preamble. You now have 35 days before our missiles reach your worlds. I want to make our position absolutely clear. Patriarch Mordan leaned forward. Human, perhaps we can reach an understanding. Elena's expression didn't change. There is nothing to understand. You have 48 hours to withdraw all hegemony forces from human space. After that, negotiations end. And if we refuse? The Corvani asked. Then you will learn what humans mean when we say mutual assured destruction, Elena replied. Your choice is simple. Let us live free or we all die together. This is insanity, the Zephani representative blazed. You would destroy billions of innocent beings. Elena's eyes hardened. You are prepared to enslave billions of innocent humans. The difference is that we're giving you a choice. What choice? Patriarch Mordan demanded. Submit to your blackmail or face annihilation? Recognize our independence, Elena corrected. Accept that some species will not kneel. Learn to coexist with those who value freedom above survival. The transmission ended, leaving the council in stunned silence. She's serious, the Luminar said finally. Our psychological analysis confirms it. They will follow through on their threat. Then we have no choice, the Corvani said grimly. We must withdraw. Withdraw? Patriarch Mordan's voice carried shock. The Veltar Empire does not retreat from primitive species. The alternative is the death of every hegemony world, the Zephani pointed out. Is your pride worth 43 billion lives? Arguments erupted again. Some members demanded military action. Others insisted on withdrawal. A few suggested trying to negotiate with individual human factions, but gradually a terrible understanding spread through the council. The humans had done something unprecedented in galactic history. They had made the cost of conquest too high to pay. There is another consideration, the Luminar said quietly. Other species are watching this confrontation. If we withdraw from human space, what message does that send? That the hegemony can be defied, Patriarch Morden said bitterly. But if we proceed and lose 43 worlds, the Zephani countered, what message does that send? That defying the hegemony leads to mutual destruction, the Corvani replied. Perhaps that is not a bad lesson for the galaxy to learn. On his flagship, Admiral Crixthanor watched the council debate through his communication link. For the first time in his long career, he found himself hoping his superiors would order retreat, not because he feared battle, but because he had come to understand something about these humans. They meant every word they said. His communication officer interrupted his thoughts. Admiral, we're receiving a priority message from the human fleet. On screen, Admiral Elena Vasquez appeared on his bridge display. But this time she wasn't broadcasting to the galaxy. She was speaking directly to him. Admiral Crixthanor, she said, I wanted you to understand something. This isn't personal. You're a soldier following orders. So am I, Crixthanor found himself responding. Then why threaten galactic destruction? Because sometimes, Elena replied, the only way to stop a bully is to make the cost too high to bear. You've conquered dozens of species, but you've never met one willing to drag you down with us. Your threats prove nothing except your species' madness. Elena smiled grimly. Maybe, but they also prove something else. They prove that freedom is worth any price, even this one. The transmission ended, leaving Crixthanor alone with his thoughts. For the first time in his military career, he understood why his enemies fought so hard against impossible odds. Some things, apparently, were worth dying for. The question now was whether the hegemony would learn that lesson before it was too late. 26 days remained until the human missiles reached their targets. The galaxy held its breath as the most powerful military force in known space faced an impossible decision. Admiral Crixthanor stood alone on the bridge of his flagship, staring at the blue planet below. His communication console chimed with an incoming message. Not from Hegemony Command this time. Not from the Galactic Council. This message came from Earth. Admiral Elena Vasquez appeared on his screen. She looked tired, but her eyes still held that unbreakable determination that had puzzled him from their first meeting. Admiral Crixthanor, she said, I'm transmitting on a direct private channel. What I'm about to tell you is for your ears only. Crixthanor's mandibles clicked with curiosity. Speak, human. You're going to receive orders to withdraw from human space within the next hour, Elena said. The Hegemony Council has voted. They're not willing to sacrifice 43 worlds to conquer one. How do you know this? Elena smiled grimly. Because we've been monitoring your communications. Your encryption is very good, Admiral, but you underestimated human determination to break it. Crixthanor felt a chill run through his exoskeleton. You've been listening to our private military channels? For weeks, Elena confirmed. We know about the panic on your homeworlds. We know about the emergency fleets being recalled to defend core systems. We know that 3 Hegemony member species have already withdrawn their forces from your unified command. The implications hit Crixthanor like a physical blow. The alliance is fracturing. Yes, Elena said simply. Your empire is held together by fear and respect for your power. But fear works both ways, Admiral. Now your own allies fear us more than they respect you. Crixthanor was quiet for a long moment. Why are you telling me this? Because I want you to understand what's really happening here, Elena replied. This isn't just about Earth's independence. This is about changing the fundamental balance of power in the galaxy. Explain. Elena leaned forward. For thousands of years, the strong have ruled the weak, because the weak had no choice but to submit or die. Today, we've introduced a third option. Mutual destruction, Crixthanor said. Exactly. And once that option exists, everything changes. Every species you've conquered, every world you've subjugated now knows that resistance is possible. All they need is the will to make the cost too high. The communication console chimed again. Crixthanor's second-in-command appeared on a secondary screen. Admiral, priority orders from Hegemony Command. Crixthanor looked at Elena's image, then at his subordinate. Transfer the orders to my private terminal. The orders were brief and clear. All hegemony forces were to withdraw from human space immediately. No further aggressive action was to be taken against Earth or its colonies. The human missiles were to be left undisturbed unless they deviated from their current courses. "It's over," Crixthanor said quietly. "No," Elena corrected. "It's just beginning." 3 hours later, the massive Veltar fleet began its withdrawal from the Sol system. Ship by ship, the alien vessels turned away from Earth and engaged their faster-than-light drives. The blockade that had threatened humanity's existence simply melted away. But Admiral Crixthanor did not leave with his fleet. His personal shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere, landing at the coordinates Elena had provided. The meeting place was symbolic, the ancient ruins of the United Nations building in New York, destroyed centuries earlier but rebuilt as a monument to human cooperation. Elena waited for him in the rebuilt General Assembly Hall. She stood alone, wearing her simple blue uniform, looking tiny in the vast space designed for hundreds of delegates. Crixthanor entered through the main doors, his massive form dwarfing the human architecture. His forearms were empty of weapons. His insect-like head moved as he studied the hall where humans had once tried to govern themselves. "You came," Elena said. "I had to see for myself," Crixthanor replied. "The species that broke the hegemony with pure madness." "Not madness," Elena corrected. "Principle." They stood facing each other in the empty hall. The conquered and the conqueror. The primitive and the advanced. The weak and the strong. "What happens now?" Crixthanor asked. Elena smiled. "Now we build something new. A galaxy where species cooperate instead of dominate. Where different peoples can coexist without one kneeling to another." "Impossible," Crixthanor said automatically. "The strong will always rule the weak. It is the natural order." "The natural order just changed," Elena replied. "Admiral, I want to ask you something. In all your conquests and all the species you've subjugated, did any of them ever threaten to destroy your entire empire?" "No," Crixthanor admitted, "because they were rational. They weighed the costs and chose survival over freedom. But humans are different. We've proven that some costs are too high to pay, even for conquest." Elena walked to the great windows overlooking the restored city. "Other species are already learning from our example. Our intelligence shows resistance movements forming on a dozen hegemony worlds. Not military resistance, ideological resistance. Populations that are no longer afraid to say no." Crixthanor followed her to the windows. "You're saying this was never about Earth?" "This was about proving that resistance is possible," Elena confirmed. "About showing the galaxy that the strong only rule by consent of the weak. And consent can be withdrawn, at what cost?" Crixthanor demanded. "Your species was willing to destroy the galaxy." Elena turned to face him. "Were we? Or were we willing to destroy the galaxy as it existed? Sometimes you have to tear down the old order to build a new one." 6 months later, the galactic hegemony as it had existed for millennia was no more. 3 member species had withdrawn entirely, forming their own independent confederation. Others had granted autonomy to previously conquered worlds. The rigid hierarchy that had controlled the galaxy for thousands of years was cracking. Admiral Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of humanity's first true starship, the UES Constitution. Built with technology freely shared by former hegemony members, it represented something new in galactic history, a vessel designed for exploration and cooperation rather than conquest. Her communication officer turned to her. "Admiral, we're receiving a message from the Altarian system. They're requesting assistance in establishing their independence from hegemony rule." "Set course for Altaria," Elena ordered, "and transmit our standard response." The standard response had become famous throughout the galaxy. Simple words that carried a revolutionary message. "This is the Earth Confederation vessel, Constitution. We stand ready to assist any species seeking freedom. Some things are worth fighting for. Some things are worth dying for. Freedom is one of them." In the depths of space, former Admiral Crixthanor commanded a very different kind of vessel. The New Dawn was a science ship, exploring the outer rim territories that the hegemony had never bothered to survey. His crew was mixed, former hegemony species working together as equals. His communication officer, a young human named Lieutenant Torres, turned to him. "Admiral, we're detecting a distress signal from an uncharted system. Origin?" Crixthanor asked. "Unknown species. The signal indicates they're under attack by raiders." Crixthanor didn't hesitate. Set course to assist. Maximum speed. Sir, Torres said with a slight smile. Should I transmit the new Confederation response? Crixthanor's mandibles spread in what his species used for a smile. By all means, Lieutenant. The message that went out across space carried words that the old hegemony would never have used. This is the Confederation vessel, New Dawn. We come in peace. We offer assistance to any who need it, and we believe that all species have the right to determine their own destiny. Years later, historians would mark the day of humanity's ultimatum as the beginning of a new galactic age. The age when conquest became too expensive and cooperation became profitable. When the strong learned that true power came not from the ability to destroy, but from the willingness to die for what you believed in. Elena Vasquez, now promoted to Fleet Admiral of the growing Confederation, often returned to Earth to visit the memorial built for those who had died in the suicide attacks against the hegemony fleet. Their names were carved in stone beneath a simple inscription. They chose to die free rather than live as slaves. Their sacrifice made freedom possible for the galaxy. The galaxy had learned a hard lesson from humanity. Some species could not be conquered because they would rather burn the universe than kneel. And once that lesson was learned, everything changed. The age of empires was over. The age of cooperation had begun. And it all started when a human admiral looked at the most powerful military force in the galaxy and said 5 simple words. You want war? Then face obliteration. The galaxy had faced obliteration and chosen peace instead.